What if your body has been sending you warning signals for years, but you've been misinterpreting them as just part of life? Most people assume that when blood sugar becomes a problem, the body will make it obvious with a dramatic medical event. They expect a sudden collapse or a clear symptom that is impossible to ignore. In reality, high blood sugar is a master of disguise. It often develops quietly, progressing for months or even a decade before a diagnosis is ever made. During this time, your body isn't failing, it's adapting. It's compensating and masking the damage that is slowly taking place beneath the surface of your daily routine. This is why so many people are genuinely shocked when routine blood work reveals elevated glucose or prediabetes. They didn't feel sick in the traditional sense. Perhaps they felt a little more tired than usual, a bit foggy in the afternoons, or just slightly off, but nothing alarming enough to merit a doctor's visit. These subtle changes are so easy to blame on stress, the natural process of aging, a string of poor nights of sleep, or a busy lifestyle. Yet, in many cases, they are the early distress signals that your blood sugar regulation is no longer working as efficiently as it should. It's important to understand that high blood sugar does not damage the body overnight. It's a slow burn. It affects your blood vessels, nerves, eyes, and vital organs, gradually through repeated small spikes that strain your insulin response. The real danger isn't a single high reading after a birthday cake. It's the quiet, relentless accumulation of metabolic stress over time. In this video, we are going to walk through 7 silent signs that your blood sugar may be running too high, even if you've never been diagnosed with diabetes. These aren't rare medical anomalies, they are everyday experiences that many people overlook. Recognizing them now creates a massive opportunity for prevention and long-term protection of your health. Why high blood sugar can stay hidden for years. Before we dive into the signs, we need to answer a critical question. How does something so dangerous stay so hidden? High blood sugar is often imagined as a sudden storm, but it's actually more like a slow rising tide. The reason it stays undetected lies in your body's remarkable ability to compensate. When your glucose levels first begin to creep up, your pancreas, the organ responsible for insulin, simply works overtime. It pumps out more and more insulin to keep your blood sugar within a normal range. On the surface, everything looks fine on a standard test and you feel okay. Underneath, however, your metabolic system is being pushed to its absolute limit. Over time, your cells become less responsive to this constant flood of insulin, a process you've likely heard of called insulin resistance. When this happens, glucose has a harder time entering your cells to be used for energy. Your pancreas responds by releasing even more insulin to overcome that resistance, like someone shouting louder because they aren't being heard. Your blood sugar might still appear acceptable for a while, but the internal strain is building. This is exactly why many people feel relatively normal, long before a formal diagnosis of prediabetes or type 2 diabetes is ever written on a chart. Another reason high blood sugar stays hidden is that early metabolic damage doesn't usually cause physical pain. Elevated glucose slowly corrodes blood vessels and tissues without triggering a single ouch. Fatigue, mental fog, or thirst may appear, but these are lifestyle symptoms. We attribute them to our jobs, our kids, or our age, rather than a blood sugar imbalance. Research has shown that insulin resistance can be present for up to 10 years before your fasting glucose levels ever cross the diagnostic threshold. During this hidden decade, your body is already experiencing oxidative stress and low-grade inflammation. This is why awareness is your best medicine. By recognizing the subtle signals now, you can intervene and stop the damage before it becomes a permanent complication. Silent sign number 1, constant fatigue. That sleep doesn't fix. Let's start with the most common hidden sign, a persistent, heavy fatigue that no amount of coffee or sleep seems to fix. We've all been tired, but this is different. Many people assume they are simply overworked or stressed. However, when your blood sugar regulation is impaired, your body's internal power plant becomes inefficient. Glucose is your body's primary fuel. Under normal conditions, insulin acts as the key that unlocks your cells, so glucose can enter and be turned into energy. When you develop insulin resistance, the key stops working. Glucose remains trapped in your bloodstream, while your cells are essentially starving for fuel. It's a cruel paradox. Your blood sugar is high, meaning you have plenty of fuel in the tank, but your cells can't access it. The result is an overwhelming sense of exhaustion. This often manifests as a cycle of crashes. After you eat a carbohydrate-heavy meal, your blood sugar spikes. Your body tries to compensate with a massive insulin dump, which causes your blood sugar to plummet. This roller coaster leads to that mid-afternoon exhaustion where your eyelids feel like lead, and you feel an almost desperate urge for sugar or caffeine. Over time, these repeated swings place an immense strain on your adrenal system and disrupt your natural energy rhythms. You might find that you wake up feeling drained, struggle to stay alert by 10 a.m., or feel completely wiped out by the time you get home. A study published in the journal Diabetes Care confirmed that unstable blood sugar is closely linked to fatigue and reduced physical endurance, regardless of how well you slept the night before. If you find yourself saying, "I'm just tired" every single day, it may not be a lack of sleep. It may be a metabolic signal that your cells aren't getting the energy they need. Silent sign number 2, increased thirst and frequent urination. This next sign is often ignored because it feels so normal, especially in the summer or if you're active. It's the combination of a dry mouth and more frequent trips to the bathroom. Because these changes develop so gradually, most people simply adapt. You start carrying a larger water bottle, or you get used to waking up once a night to use the bathroom. You assume you're just staying hydrated, but there's a biological reason this is happening. The mechanism is actually quite simple. Your kidneys are responsible for filtering your blood. When your blood sugar rises beyond what your body can safely handle, your kidneys can't keep up. To get rid of the excess glucose, they start spilling it into your urine. Because glucose is osmotic, it attracts water. As the sugar leaves your body through your urine, it pulls massive amounts of water with it. This leads to increased urine volume, which rapidly dehydrates your tissues. Your brain then receives a dehydration signal, triggering intense thirst to replace what you've lost. This creates a cycle that repeats throughout the day. You might notice your mouth feels like cotton in the morning, or you find yourself thirstier than everyone else in the room. Some people start waking up multiple times a night to urinate, which further disrupts sleep and worsens the fatigue we just talked about. What makes this so easy to miss is that we blame it on caffeine or dry indoor air. However, research in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism shows that even modest elevations in blood sugar can increase thirst long before a diagnosis. If you're drinking more but feeling drier, your body might be trying to wash out excess sugar. Silent sign number 3, brain fog, poor focus, and memory slips. Have you ever walked into a room and forgotten why? Or found yourself staring at a computer screen, unable to focus on a simple task? We call this brain fog, and we usually blame it on multitasking or stress. However, subtle changes in mental clarity are a major signal of elevated blood sugar. Your brain is an energy hog. It uses about 20% of your body's total glucose. But here's the catch. It needs that glucose to be steady. It doesn't handle spikes and crashes well. When your blood sugar levels are unstable, your brain experiences these shifts as a lack of fuel. This impairs your attention span, your ability to make decisions, and your short-term memory. But there's a deeper layer to this. Insulin resistance doesn't just happen in your muscles, it can happen in your brain. Research published in Neurology has linked insulin resistance to reduced cognitive performance. When insulin signaling is disrupted, the communication between your brain cells becomes noisy and less efficient. Furthermore, high blood sugar promotes low-grade inflammation. This neuroinflammation interferes with your neural pathways, making you feel mentally exhausted even if you haven't done much thinking. Many people notice their focus is at its worst about an hour after a high-carb lunch. Instead of reaching for another cup of coffee, recognize that this mental cloud might be a metabolic signal. Improving your blood sugar stability often leads to a lifting of this fog, resulting in sharper thinking and better mental stamina within just a few weeks of making changes. Silent sign number 4, slow healing and frequent infections. If you notice that a small paper cut takes 2 weeks to heal or a bruise seems to stay on your skin forever, pay attention. This is a quiet but very important signal. Most of us don't keep a healing diary, so we don't notice the slowdown. However, excess glucose acts like a wrench in your body's natural repair machinery. Under healthy conditions, your immune cells move quickly to an injury to begin the repair process. When blood sugar is high, that process is paralyzed. High glucose levels impair the activity of your white blood cells, the soldiers of your immune system. They become less effective at identifying and killing bacteria. This is why people with elevated blood sugar are more prone to skin infections, recurring fungal issues, or urinary tract infections. It also affects your circulation. Over time, high sugar damages the microvessels, the tiny tubes that carry oxygen and nutrients to your skin and extremities. Without proper blood flow, your skin can't get the supplies it needs to knit a wound back together. There is also the sugar-loving nature of bacteria. High glucose provides a literal feast for certain microbes. This is why gum disease and frequent dental issues are often linked to blood sugar problems. Research in the Journal of Clinical Periodontology has shown that even mild elevations in sugar are associated with increased infection risk. If you feel like you're always catching something, or your skin just won't clear up, your internal environment might be too sweet, encouraging the wrong kind of growth. Silent sign number 5. Tingling, numbness, or burning sensations. This is perhaps the most critical sign to catch early. Do you ever feel a pins and needles sensation in your feet after sitting for just a minute? Or perhaps a faint burning feeling in your toes at night? Most people dismiss this as a circulation issue or blame their shoes. In reality, your nerves are incredibly sensitive to glucose. When blood sugar remains high, it can actually damage the protective coating of your nerves and disrupt how they send signals to your brain. In the early stages, these symptoms are silent because they come and go. They aren't painful, yet they're just annoying. You might feel a brief numbness that disappears after you walk around, but this inconsistency is why it's dangerous to ignore. This is the beginning of what doctors call neuropathy. While most people associate neuropathy with advanced diabetes, studies in diabetes care show that nerve damage often begins during the prediabetes stage, long before anyone tells you that you're sick. The good news is that at this early stage, your nerve tissue is often still capable of recovery. Early glucose stabilization can stop the irritation and allow your nerves to heal. If you notice these sensations, don't wait for them to become painful. They are your body's early warning system, telling you that your blood sugar is starting to affect your nervous system. Addressing it now can prevent permanent damage that becomes much harder to treat later on. Silent sign number 6. Vision changes and eye strain. Changes in your vision are another subtle signal. We're not talking about sudden blindness, but rather fluctuating vision. You might notice that some days your vision is a bit blurry and other days it's perfectly sharp. Or perhaps you feel like you need to squint more at the end of the day. Most people assume they just need a new glasses prescription or that they've spent too much time looking at screens. The eyes are highly sensitive to fluid balance. When your blood sugar is high, it alters the fluid levels throughout your body, including inside the lens of your eye. Excess glucose actually draws water into the lens, causing it to swell and change shape. This change in shape shifts your focus, making things appear blurry. When your blood sugar goes back down, the swelling subsides and your vision clears up. This on and off blurriness is a classic sign of unstable blood sugar. If left unaddressed, this repeated swelling and the damage to the tiny blood vessels in your retina can lead to long-term issues. Research in the journal Ophthalmology shows that early retinal changes can be detected in people who haven't even been diagnosed with diabetes yet. The reassuring part is that these early shifts are often completely reversible. When you stabilize your glucose, the fluid shifts stop, and your vision usually returns to its baseline. If your eyes feel like they are constantly changing, it might not be your age. It might be your HbA1c. Silent sign number 7. Abdominal weight gain and persistent sugar cravings. Finally, let's talk about the sign that causes the most frustration. Unexplained weight gain around the middle, paired with intense cravings for sweets. Many people blame this on a slow metabolism or getting older. While those factors matter, This specific pattern is often a direct reflection of your insulin levels. Remember, insulin is not just a blood sugar hormone. It is your primary fat storage hormone. When your blood sugar is consistently high, your insulin stays high to compensate. And as long as insulin is high, your body is in storage mode. It is biochemically impossible to burn fat efficiently when insulin is elevated. This fat tends to gather around the abdomen. This is known as visceral fat, which surrounds your organs. To make matters worse, when your cells become insulin resistant, they aren't getting the energy they need, so they send hunger signals to the brain. Your brain perceives an energy crisis and triggers a craving for the fastest fuel possible: sugar. This creates a vicious cycle. You eat sugar, your blood sugar spikes, insulin rises, your body stores that energy as belly fat, your blood sugar then crashes, and your brain screams for more sugar. It's not a lack of willpower, it's a hormonal trap. Research in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism shows that insulin resistance actually alters your appetite-regulating hormones. The good news is that when you stabilize your blood sugar, the cravings often vanish within days, and your body finally gets the green light to start burning stored fat again. What to do? If you recognize these signs, If you recognize one or even several of these signs in yourself, the first thing to do is stay calm. These symptoms are signals, not a final sentence. They are your body's way of communicating that your metabolic system is under strain and needs a little help. The most important step you can take is to move from guessing to knowing. Simple blood tests like fasting glucose, HbA1c, and especially fasting insulin can tell you exactly what's happening behind the scenes. Lifestyle changes are incredibly powerful at this early stage. You don't need an extreme, restrictive diet to see results. It starts with flattening your glucose curves. Focus on ordering your food correctly, eat your vegetables and proteins first, and your starches last. This simple trick can significantly reduce blood sugar spikes. Prioritize whole foods, healthy fats, and fiber, which slow down the absorption of sugar into your bloodstream. Movement is your other secret weapon. You don't need to run a marathon. A simple 15-minute walk after a meal helps your muscles soak up glucose without needing as much insulin. Additionally, don't underestimate the power of sleep and stress management. Both sleep deprivation and high stress levels trigger cortisol, which directly pushes your blood sugar higher. By addressing these pillars of health, you give your body the environment it needs to regain balance. Final takeaway: listening early changes everything. High blood sugar rarely announces its arrival with a shout or a sudden crisis. Instead, it whispers. It whispers through that persistent afternoon slump, that unquenchable thirst in the middle of the night, the subtle fog that clouds your thinking during an important meeting, and those frustratingly stubborn cravings that seem to override your willpower. These signs are incredibly easy to ignore because they feel like the background noise of a modern, high-stress life. We've been conditioned to believe that feeling slightly off is just the price we pay for getting older or working hard. But listening to those whispers today is the single most effective way to prevent a medical shout tomorrow. The most powerful tool in your health arsenal isn't a miracle supplement or a crash diet. It is awareness. When you recognize these signals in their early, silent stages, you are no longer a passenger in your own body. You are the driver. You gain a massive window of opportunity to intervene before minor metabolic shifts become life-altering complications. Your health trajectory is not defined by a single lab value, a genetic predisposition, or a bad week of eating. It is shaped by the patterns you choose to recognize and the small, consistent actions you take in response. When you stabilize your blood sugar, you aren't just fixing a number on a glucose monitor. You are reclaiming your energy, restoring your mental clarity, and protecting your long-term vitality. Understanding your body's unique language replaces fear with clarity. Instead of waiting for a diagnosis to react, you are taking the proactive steps necessary to ensure that a diagnosis never happens. Call to action. Stay informed, stay ahead. If this video helped you connect the dots on how you've been feeling, or if it gave you the clarity you've been looking for, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. We are dedicated to providing clear, evidence-based health education to help you stay ahead of metabolic disease. We don't just focus on the problems, we focus on practical, real-world strategies that you can start using today to protect your future self. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Which of these 7 signs was the most surprising to you? Or if you've managed to stabilize your blood sugar, what was the first positive change you noticed? Your story could be exactly what someone else needs to hear to start their own journey. Don't forget to click the notification bell so you don't miss our next video. Thank you for watching, and more importantly, thank you for taking an active, informed role in your own health. Stay proactive, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next video.